Um, Forget where I was. Video just ran out of room. Yeah, so low accountability environments. And so, yeah, resentments build. Some people, and I hate to say it, I think this is most people, unfortunately, are low character people. Not that they're not image bearers of God, not that they don't have a spirit and a soul and human dignity, human worth, but in their upbringing or in their choices in life or for whatever reason, many reasons to get here, there just is not a strong reservoir of character, to put it one way. And part of what that looks like is just nonstop gossiping. Gossiping, in one sense, starts to make some sense, especially if it's a low accountability environment where you're not getting support and you are trying to make a genuine effort, but you're just not getting that support. I can understand it. I still don't condone it, but that people would have resentments. But I think for most people, they just gossip because they don't have character. They don't recognize, or they choose not to, or for whatever reason, the damage it does to other people, the damage it does to your own soul, to your own spirit, how you degrade, how you profane your own existence. And I've done other videos. I mean, there are other things to say here about psychology behind it and stuff, but just to keep it in the context of this video, it's just not, it doesn't produce anything healthy, anything that you want really in life. Anything healthy, yeah. And so what do you do in that environment? Do you fall into the trance? That's one option, and that's most people. The other option is confront it, speak up. Hate that option. Why should I, as somebody who cares, who is trying to do a good job, now have to carry this extra burden of having to confront, having to speak up? It sucks. You should not have to. It ain't right. You should not have to carry that burden. It's wrong. You should not have to. You really should not. However, that's how the world is in many circumstances. It doesn't have to be that way, and it doesn't have to look like that everywhere, but and there are better and worse environments for sure, but that's what I did. So I tried to be skillful. I'm not going out there, whatever. I tried to be skillful, approaching people, tried to be humble, approaching people, tried to pick my battles. And there were many, many, many things daily that I just said, broken world, it sucks. I'm just not gonna, I just had to let it go for my own sanity. Not that it was right, many of the things that I saw, but, and also not that I had to participate, but at some point I did confront, like with this one gentleman who's 50 or 60, gone. In one case, like in probably many cases, just off of the floor, nowhere to be seen, right in the middle of the workday, over an hour. I want to say 2 hours in one case. I don't know. Part of me is like in this struggle of how closely and how vigilant should I be about monitoring stuff like this. So I can have the data so I can say you were gone from this time to this time, so I can be specific, when I talk to somebody. Another part is me like, I don't want to get into that mindset of like monitoring and, keeping track of, and just for my own sanity sake, because it was just so egregious how poor people's work ethic is that I would drive myself insane. So I don't really have it. I can't say exact times, but he would be gone for long times from the floor. You do get breaks. You get like you get two 15-minute breaks, or you could do a 30-minute break. This was not that. And you'd find him all around the store, just, talking with other employees and having a good time. I'm sure he was very happy. That's part of what's frustrating about this is, at least at the surface level, these people appear to be very happy. He seemed to be very happy with himself and with his day. Anyways, you try not to get caught up in all that, and who cares, I don't really know what's going on in somebody's heart or spirit, so you try not to go too far into that dimension. But spending hours doing tasks that would take not a fraction of that time, and just not rotating, just all kinds of stuff, right? And so at one point I said, you know what? And the other thing is, other people are coming to me talking shit about him. And I'm sure other people are talking shit about me. In fact, I'm sure of that. However, every chance I had, as best as I could, and I think I did a pretty good job, bordering on a neurotic job with this, I reflected it back at people. When somebody would come up and want to gossip, I'd say, I hear you. I can understand how it's frustrating. I'm not going to talk about somebody if they're not here. Or I'd say, talk to him directly. Have you talked to him directly? Or I'd say, talk to the manager. I just don't want to participate at all. It's not a game that you can ever win, and it's not a game that has any good returns. There's a momentary hit. It's an addictive pattern, and just like any addiction, there is something gratifying momentarily about gossiping. You feel like, oh, I'm the special person. I'm inside. I'm safe. They're talking to me, meaning they're not talking about me, meaning I'm the good one. But no, people who are so easy to gossip, they will stab you in the back. If that's how you built your relationship, and then you end up getting stabbed in the back, it sucks. But you had to know that was their character from the moment that you started building, and your character from the moment you started building the relationship on that foundation, right? And that sucks. That sucks that that's the way people are, but that's, that's different. I mean, I could flesh this out a little bit, but let me just. Yeah, so other people are talking crap about this guy, and I tell them, I say, talk to him directly, I guess I'm just painting a picture here of, I don't know, because now I'm questioning, in a sense, I'm gossiping here, right? But not really, because nobody that would hear this is involved in any of this, and I'm not being specific about anybody. I'm hopefully using this to demonstrate a point, and I think that's a difference. Anyways, but regardless, even if people weren't gossiping about this guy, just the fact that I'm getting aggravated, that he's not doing what he should be doing out there, and nobody else seems to be confronting him or talking to him, it doesn't seem like it's going to change. What else am I going to do? I'm going to start bad-mouthing him, be resentful, be pissed off. I guess I could just quit. But you're going to run into this just about everywhere. You could let it go, and as best as I can, I do. I've gotten better at that, but at some point there's a sense of needing to confront. Anyway, so I finally did, very skillfully. Hey man, I appreciate, and I always try to start out saying, I appreciate a lot of things about you. You seem like a kind person. And I said things that were honest. I've seen him have kind interactions with people, and I'd say, I'm not perfect at all. And if this comes across as judgmental, forgive me. I was being very humble, trying to set as humble of a playing field as I could. I even asked him for feedback, like, hey, how is this coming across to you? But I laid it out. I said, you're gone. And I tried to be specific. You've been gone off the floor for over an hour. You're not rotating. You're taking a long time with this. Even before I did all this, I kind of asked him what was going on in his life. He had gotten into a car accident a month or so earlier. And so that may have, in this particular case, may have played into it. And I found that out because I was talking to him, right? And I was trying to investigate a little bit. It's also true that sometimes I fly off the handle and I don't have the full picture. And there are details about something that do kind of alter or temper my approach to something. And so it's important to have some kind of humility there, but not to the point where you are gaslighting yourself, right? You also matter in this equation. And so I did. I tried to talk to him, but I tried to be firm, honest, respectful. And again, I would say stuff like, hey, if it's coming across disrespectful, forgive me. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just trying to express myself in an honest way. Rather than talking about you behind your back, I would say stuff like that too, because that's honest. This is how I'm choosing to address this. And because I took that tone, well, let me see, what do I want to say here? That was probably in the first month or two of working there. He didn't speak to me again for the next 5 months. It was kind of a dick, actually. And I confronted a couple of other people. I had some conversations with people there that actually I felt went pretty good. They were the minority, but they show what's possible if you're talking to a mature person, and if you yourself are trying to be humble. You can have sometimes, and I think the amount of times, the percentage of conversations like that, the possibility of conversations like that, if we were to plot that somehow cross-civilizationally, longitudinally, but with a huge data set, across time, I think that number, if we could somehow chart that, that number of constructive, healthy conversations, I think that's probably decreasing, unfortunately. It seems harder and harder to find anyways. I don't know. It's hard to say. But so some conversations did go okay, and some were even pretty good, I thought. But man, I had some blow-ups. One that almost came to physical blows, despite having tried to be very patient, despite having tried my best communicationally, not being hostile, but trying to be direct, trying to be respectful. And man, there's some very bad. And the point I'm trying to make with all this is it's like, you burn out. It's like you conform and you fall to other people's levels in terms of just not giving a shit about the job, and or just gossiping and being kind of an unhealthy person, just kind of falling in lockstep. And that's not really me. Or you quit, or you burn out, or you try to reform, you try to confront people. And there are a few different paths here, but not many. But if you do take the route of trying to be the example and trying to have integrity, that's noble, that's good. But there's such a high cost to speaking up, unfortunately. Again, you do it as humbly and as skillfully as possible, and you back it up with the fact that you yourself are doing the work and you're working hard, and that speaks volumes for you without having to say anything. And 85-90% of the bullshit at a workplace you can just avoid, and you get better at picking battles and just tuning certain things out. That's true also. But man, it's a tough situation. And what was the point of this video? I guess it was talking about work ethic, and just the shock of it. And I don't know how we recover that. I mean, I'm not even thinking at that level, really. You know, you're up against developmental forces, economic forces, cultural forces, historical forces, social forces, I'll even say spiritual forces that are so, the magnitude, the scale is universal. It's like oceanic. I've said that in other videos. And you're just one little human. It's like, God, what are we doing here, man? I've said this before too. It's like you put this sense of integrity, sense of justice, sense of moral rectitude or morality or ethics inside of me, that I should value that I have some of that inside of me, right? But then I'm thrown into this world that is a crazy place, you know? And what's the message here, right? It's so hard to understand what's going on this planet. Is the message here you want us to all be low character sociopaths, psychopaths, Machiavellian, narcissistic, whatever? Is that the message? Was that the whole point? Okay, but then why give me a heart? Why give me a sense of justice? Why give me a sense of morality? What was the point, you know? I don't think that's the message. It doesn't make any sense to me. But, you know, you could be forgiven for being confused about what the hell's going on here on this planet. For sure, for sure. Anyways, take care.